Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. I'm Liviu and today I'm gonna look at the new Crossfire MicroTX version 2. TBS just released the version 2 of the famous Crossfire MicroTX, which initially had 100 milliwatts, and I did two power mods on the version 1. First was from 100 milliwatts to 250, and the second mod I did was from 250 to 500 milliwatts, but with the change of the RF amplifier IC. But today TBS released the version 2 and I am very curious, as all of you guys are, I guess, to see what did they changed inside. Let's open the box and see what's inside. Inside we can see the module itself, one little bag. And inside this bag you can find the mod you need to do on some FreeSky transmitters to have the full capability with Crossfire. I don't want to get into that issue. And also you find this card that helps you go on TBS website and download the TBS Agent X, which helps you update the firmware on the MicroTX. So this is the new module. It looks fairly the same like the original, with two obvious differences on the outside. First, as you can see, we have here a plastic cover for the SMA, and also there is no more micro USB, there is now a USB Type-C. To be honest, I don't know why we are still seeing micro USB on fly controllers, because I always hated micro USB. The connectors just break off very easily, so yep. Let's talk about this cover here and the reason for it. This is just to comply with FCC rules, because if I'm not mistaken, the FCC rules say that the antenna cannot be removable on your device. So this cap here just ensures that the antenna cannot be removed. Obviously, you can remove it, and that's if you want to use a better antenna like the TBS Diamond antenna, which is a very good antenna and I highly recommend it. It has a more even radiation pattern. This antenna comes with the cap already installed on the cable itself, so you cannot take it out. But you can just discard this antenna and plug whatever antenna you decide on it. Let's take it out and see what is different inside, because honestly I'm very curious to see what TBS did. Are we ready for it? So, if I'm not mistaken, I have to pull it like this, and there is here something, at least on the V1 here. Yep. Okay. Right now I can see a big difference. I don't know if some of you opened up the V1 or not, but the V1 MicroTX had two boards inside. One which housed the RF section, and another one with the Bluetooth module and Wi-Fi, obviously. Yep, this is one board design. That's an interesting addition. Let's take everything out and look closer to see what we can find on this PCB. I have to take out this one. Yep. So what can we see different on this PCB? Well, to be honest, nothing really, except this extension connector here. Yep. But the curious thing is, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but all this section here is empty of parts, but we can still see a lot of ground plane, and I guess this is for cooling. This is why they left all this section of the RF can. Quite simple design. They have everything processing and power on one side of the PCB and the RF on the other, and also the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth module there. Okay, let's take out the can and see what TBS did different inside. I'm curious if they have a 500 milliwatts or, I don't know, even bigger RFIC amplifier in there. Let me set up everything and switch over to the microscope view and see what's in there. Okay guys, so to be able to see what is changed inside, we have to take out this can and for obvious reasons TBS decided to go with a full bit of solder all the way around. That means I will have a very hard time taking this can out. I'm going with a hot air to take it out. It will take a while, but hopefully we can take it out easily and without any issues. Sorry guys, but it's almost impossible to take it out with the hot air, and I don't want to stress it too much. I am going to try and apply some fresh solder here, which is not lead free, and take it out like this, because I think it's almost impossible to take it out using hot air. Hopefully we can manage to clean everything here and take this can out. Yep. So I can see the can moving now, but it's still stuck down here and there. Hopefully I didn't ruin anything. Almost. We managed to take out the can. Let's clean everything we can see here. Let me clean out the mess I did here. Unfortunately, removing this type of cans, it's pretty hard, and if you don't have that much experience, you can mess it up, and there is a high probability that you can kill some parts in the process, or even the PCB itself. Even the most experienced repair guys, sometimes they kill stuff, especially in this type of can, because it was very thick and a lot of solder, especially lead-free solder on the sides, but we managed to clean it, so I'm happy. Okay guys, so we have something totally new on this Crossfire MicroTX version 2. all, the power amplifying section is changed completely. On the previous schematic we had one amplifier and we also had one switcher that was switching between TX and RX. And now it seems TBS is using a Skyworks front-end designed specifically for this frequency range. And this amplifier knows LoRa, the protocol that's used on the Crossfire. And this one is a Skyworks 66420-11, and this appears to be a 500 milliwatts device, 27 dBm on the datasheet. Obviously you can push it a little bit further, I guess, but I don't know. In the datasheet this is rated to 27 dBm, which means 500 milliwatts. Also we see a lot of filtering. These are filters, and this is actually the transmit, comes from here, goes through this matching network, arrives here, goes through this filter, which obviously is for 900 megahertz. After that it goes into the transmit pin of the Skyworks IC. This next pin here with the trace going to a via is the receiving pin, and after that the switching and the amplification is done in this front end. We have the antenna output with its matching network, and also we have a filter here. So because of this filtering here, it means that this design has a much higher tolerance for neighboring influence, neighboring frequencies, I mean. Also on transmit, you will not see too much harmonics generated by the Crossfire, which is pretty nice. Right now you cannot set it higher than 250 milliwatts, so I am guessing that in the future we will see the 500 milliwatts option pop up in the firmware. Check out for that. I'm pretty happy with all the changes they made on this PCB. Obviously the firmware will do exactly the same as in all the other Crossfire products. It will just work and you will not have to stress about it. I'm pretty happy with what I can see here. Let me zoom in a bit and show you some details on this PCB, and after that I will close everything with the can and close it up. I will use some tacks to put back the can. And after I tuck it on a few sides, I will just drag solder the can back into its place. And to close everything, I will just clean a bit the mess I did with the flux. So now everything is resoldered, cleaned, and looks to be in order. As always, the quality of the PCB TBS is using is top-notch. It needs to be for RF performance. As I've said in the beginning, TBS redid all the CE and FCC certifications for this product. Let's put everything back together. Okay guys, this was my first impression and thoughts about the TBS MicroTX version 2. It's a very good increase in quality of the schematics. I quite didn't expect it from them to change so much and in better. I'm very curious when the firmware will arrive, because I'm more certain that TBS will release a new version of the firmware for this Micro V2. From what I've heard, this will come at the release date in a bundle which will have a very good price, so I would hunt it down if I were you. This is a very good product, and if you want to make the switch to Crossfire, now would be a very good moment. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope this was helpful to you in your decision, and till the next time, bye.